Good morning, afternoon, or evening, folks, depending on when you're watching this. This is Ken Granderson with part two of a video I started yesterday of synchronizing my YouTube data with code generated by ChatGPT. So I'm going to drop this video into a YouTube playlist that every time I make one of these videos, I will drop them into this playlist. And I actually have about a dozen that I've done over the past year that I'll need to dig up and drop in here. But anyway, I'm gonna really make sure I keep this one short because the last one ended up going really, really long, as often is the case, because I'm explaining every single thing that I'm doing while I'm doing it so that it makes the most sense for those of you who may not be familiar with some of the tools and techniques that I'm using. So context. This is my EdTech System Diversity Schoolhouse. It enables educators to teach Black history and ethnic studies from any internet-connected device, whether it's a desktop, tablet, or mobile phone. It is based on our 900 or so videos we have out on YouTube, and some of them you'll see EN and ES. We do in English and Spanish, and we're going to have additional languages as time goes on. I'm managing all of this in a SQL Server database that has these tables. Actually, there's more tables like these, and this isn't even all of them, but the main tables that we care about for my synchronization are videos, playlist videos, and episode languages. I'm using the term videos for the actual raw YouTube data. Episodes is my application level logical construct, which can be more than one videos because an English and a Spanish video on YouTube are two separate things. I have some code that I've already built and been using for a long time that interacts with the YouTube API to query my videos and pull them into my database. And what I'm working on right now is a pull operation that will grab the YouTube video data and overwrite everything in my database, keeping referential integrity. I'm using test-driven development. This is the Gherkin language that I use the SpecFlow plugin, and I'm using Visual Studio 2022 Community Edition. This is the preview edition, so there's like preview features. And a SpecFlow plugin that generates that I give it this English language, content. And what it then ends up doing, if I go to a test definition, is the plugin generates these function stubs that correspond to each of the steps. And then as a developer, all that I have to do is implement the actual code. And I will run this through the Visual Studio test runner, which I can use interactively, or I can build this into my DevOps pipeline. And anyway, so hopefully that's enough context to give you, what I'm doing. And what I did in the other video was I had ChatGPT write for me this method called pull videos async. So all of this code was generated by ChatGPT. I'm using raw SQL right now because I'm somewhat of a cowboy coder and I make stuff up as I go and refactor. So ultimately, I'm going to have stored procedures for everything, but because I'm doing this in the middle of, having lunch and working on other projects, etc., my version 1.0, actually, this is like version 3 of my schema, but my version 1.0 for this code is to implement it through SQL so that once I get it right, I will make a stored procedure out of things. So I'm going to right click and hit debug. And this is going to run up to the first breakpoint that I set. And so here's the first breakpoint that I set where I'm about to grab all of my videos from YouTube. And so I'm just going to step into this function, my get channel videos async. So this is my channel ID from YouTube, and something that I only discovered like within the past couple of months, because I was running into major issues. If you're using the YouTube video API, you may run into this. So let me mention this. If you are trying to get all of your videos and you're trying to do things like use the search method, the search API, you're going to find that you only get 500 videos, and I've got close to 1,000. So this is a problem. And if you look at documentation, you'll see things like using OAuth 2, which is a pain in the butt because you've got to interactively authorize a token and it runs out, versus using an API key that maybe it runs out, but it's like a year. So if you're doing utility tools, the API key is much more convenient. But anyway, what I discovered recently was that YouTube has something called a playlist, an upload playlist. And it's like, they don't really tell you about this, but if you get the upload playlist ID, so here I'm going to make a call to the YouTube API, and you'll see in response, well, this is the response object, and it has items in it. It's got one item, and bam, there is my, no, excuse me, that's my channel ID. It's under related playlists, blah, 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 blah. Let me just, in my related playlists dot uploads property, that is the ID of my uploads playlist. Once I have my uploads playlist, and I use logging for everything, okay? I happen to use a logger called NLog. I'm doing this on the Microsoft stack, and in the Microsoft.NET Core, I think they use something called Serilog. But I've been using NLog for a long time. And why do I use, well, this is true for any logging engine, but let me just show you real quick why I love NLog. It's because, where is my test project? Here's my test project. The reason I recommend you use logging methods is that I've set up, there's several log viewers. I'll show you the Sentinel interactive log viewer, which is my favorite tool. It's a free GitHub download, but you can also log to the console. You could log to a file or Slack target. So I use Slack significantly for logging, real-time logging of all my production applications. I'm going to show you real quick, drag it from my other screen. This is the Sentinel log viewer. I have this installed on all my production servers, and I can use this between this and Slack. I can always know what's happening with my production applications. So you'll see it says successfully retrieved uploads for upload playlist, blah, blah, blah. That was, well, let me step through this and I'll show you, how it logs for me. So this is get playlist videos. So then once I have my playlist, ID, this playlist items just went and grabbed for all 909 of my videos, some metadata on those playlists. And I just want the list of IDs so that I can then pass it to another one of my API methods that says, hey, given that I have a list of all these IDs, get me the video data for all of those. With the YouTube API, you gotta do this like 50 max records at a time. So I've got a little loop here. I'm not going to step through that. I'm just going to run to cursor. And so it got up to here, well, where you'll see when I step again, it's going to say, see, it says, successfully retrieved 909 playlist items. So I'm going to step, and now it says, received 909 videos for 909 IDs. So this is why I'm like a big fan of, loggers, because that helps me keep track of what's happening under the hood in all of my applications. So anyway, more logging, whatever. So now the fun part is, so that was, step from the context of my test method, I pull a list of all the videos. So that just executed this line, and you'll see the next one is going to be, where I pull the video. I call the pull videos method of the video API. So I'm just going to let it run. Oops. Oh, right. So this is a method that pulls my video data records. And it looks like, right, we got an error. Why did we get an error? We got an error because I wasn't paying attention to when this select star from videos. That implies that it's in a SQL Server schema called DBO. That is not true. It is called YouTube.videos. So shame on me for not paying attention. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to change that to YouTube videos, and I'm going to hit debug to let that sucker start back up and, and go up to that point. So, right, I don't need to set this breakpoint again. I'm just going to let it run. Up. You also got to be careful about running out of YouTube API credits. So pay attention to what calls you're using, because every call uses up API credits, and you only have, by default, you have like 10,000 a day. So anyway, so that worked this time because, I called the right database, and this videos table has, this is this is all my video data. So I don't need that breakpoint anymore. I set breakpoints at each step so that I can do what I just did, which was test every single step, and make sure it works. I am, darn near religious about stepping through all of my code. I do this. I've always done it this way. So anyway, so database video convert videos, right? So this is a method that should, hopefully, if my method was correct, which it wasn't, so I got to do it again. This is going to convert the data that comes from the YouTube format to my database format. So I screwed up here because most of my videos do not have tags. And, so what I'm doing here, I have what's sometimes called a POCO class, plain old code class, that I call videos, that is a direct mirror of the database columns in my table. I know some folks use these data transfer objects. I always found that to just be unnecessary overhead. So here's my data class. It has two constructors. One is a default constructor, so I can build it any way I want. The other is, this is a YouTube video object that I'm going to peek at. So you'll see this is a YouTube object. Excuse me, this is a code class that mirrors how YouTube, the data I get back from the YouTube API. And so this is just basically acting as a data transfer object to clone the data. But what I didn't do was take into consideration that my tags can be null. And this join method died a horrible death because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm going to stop again. I'm going to wrap this in an if, and because I've got GitHub Copilot loaded, if I start typing, it may figure out what I'm going to do. There you go. So I'm going to hang tab. It GitHub Copilot darn near reads my mind, and it correctly anticipated that I was going to write some code to detect that null scenario and and make sure that this only gets executed if tags is not null. From a purely stylistic reasons, when I'm doing C# code, I like to put even my simple ifs inside, curly brace things. So I'm going to set a breakpoint here, and we're going to debug again and let this guy run up to that point. So successfully received the playlist, my playlist items, got my videos, and it says debugging. So it stopped at my convert videos method, which is going to stop here. I'm just going to let it go. I probably, this is going to call this 909 times. So I'm just going to set another breakpoint here and let this puppy run. All right, so it converted all my videos. So now I've got, so I'm going to undo this breakpoint. So now what I have here is a list of raw database records that have all of my YouTube data that came from my database table. And YouTube videos is now my YouTube data that, look at this. This is the video that I did yesterday. In this video, I used ChatGPT4 to help me create a method that was synchronized. So this is literally pulled from YouTube, the data that for the video that's part 1 of this video that I'm making now. You got a little bit of, I don't know if that's an inception or recursive thing going on here. So I now want to step into the pull videos async method, which is what ChatGPT wrote for me yesterday, and see if this works the first time, or am I going to have to keep going on and on? If I run into more errors here, I'm not going to bore you folks with, with that. I'm going to, fix it, on my own. And I might make another video later on to say, yeah, this thing worked. So meanwhile, in terms of the logging, I have it giving me this gory details. These probably I should have done these as trace instead of information. And I say that because one of the really cool things about the whole logging frameworks, and whether you use NLog, Serilog, what was the one that a lot of folks used to use? Oh man, someone will mention it. But all these logging engines work in a similar method where, depending on your logging severity level, you can indicate what logs should go where. So for example, the viewer, which is this guy, I have it show all of my logs, whether it's trace, debug, info, warning, or error. And by the way, I can turn off different things. So if I only care about my errors, for example, I can turn off other stuff. Trace, is the most granular level. I usually only care about trace when I'm actively debugging. So the messages that are going step by step into, this is where we are, and now we're here, and now we're here, those I probably only care about, as trace methods rather than information. Information is what I will send to Slack. So anyway, let me move forward. So I get a list of the YouTube videos, and because I have to deal with referential integrity, I want to delete all of the videos that are not right. So this is going to look at the videos in the database that are no longer in YouTube. And it says there were 164 videos that are in my database that are no longer in YouTube. They're probably like old versions of videos and stuff. So what we're going to do is try to delete those. So for referential integrity, I've got to make sure that I delete them from the related tables if they exist there. And not good. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Did I not have a try catch block in there? Shame on me. No. Oh, no, my bad. I didn't set ooh, I have no idea why that actually jumped all the way out to the next step, because that certainly should have hit the try catch. That was weird, because it looks like it has jumped to the final step in my test. So, the list of videos in the database should match the list of videos. So that was kind of bizarre. Again, I'm gonna stop the recording now, and I will figure out what is going on, get this all working, and I may or may not make a video with the once I've got it all working, because the point of this really was just to show some techniques, whether it's using ChatGPT or using the some of the other tools. What I will tell you I'm going to end up doing in my test is, rather than just having the exception class, I'm going to, let me get some help from ChatGPT, catch database exceptions. So you'll see that is one of my most common hints on how to use an AI helper. Use comments to give it enough information to help you. So I didn't remember what the exceptions might be. So, but I knew if I said catch database exceptions, that the AI was going to be able to figure out, oh, I should, SQL exception is one. There might be others. Catch all other, let me say, database exceptions. There may or may not be others, I don't know. All right. It didn't have any other good ideas. So I'm gonna go with that. And when I run this again, so before I end this, just for giggles, I'm gonna run this again and see if that achieves the objective of catching this before it blows up, which I'm really, really like upset that it that it went that far into. All right, so delete from, crap. You know what I realized again? Well, part of my problem here is wrong schema again. So this should be YouTube playlist videos. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to execute that line. And so you see this as, so I have a variable called delete playlist video SQL. Fortunately, I got lucky and didn't make that a const, because I'm going to change this right in Visual Studio. Right, so that actually changed my variable to YouTube.playlist videos. And I think episode languages might be in DBO. Yeah, it is. So that's the default schema. So, you know, certainly in Visual Studio, you've been able to do this since Dirt, but hopefully in other interactive debuggers, you have the ability to change your data while you're in the middle of it. So let's see if this works now. That worked. And that worked. And that's not going to work. Did it? Wait, was I just in the middle of this, just not paying attention and accidentally, yeah, I still don't know why it's jumping all the way there. Yeah, why did it die from just setting the string? I have a feeling my debugger might be out of sync. I might need to clean temporary files, whatever. But anyway, this time for real, I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to get to the root of it looks like my debugger might have been out of sync with things. So I'll figure it out. Thanks for hanging around and watching to the end. May or may not make another video about this, but because like I said, this takes like 4 or 5 times longer than my normal flow, you know, by stopping and explaining every little thing that I do. But anyway, look out for more videos. Hope this was helpful and have fun out here coding. Bye.